Hi everyone. So my name is Kim, and today I will be your virtual tutor. I'm part of Interns for Good, and I made this Intro to Journalism virtual curriculum, and I'll be walking you guys through it. So, what exactly is journalism? Journalism is the activity of working for a newspaper or news media. And a journalist is a person who reports and writes for a newspaper. And actually, a journalist doesn't necessarily have to report for a newspaper. They can actually work for a radio broadcasting station, a news station. They could be a photojournalist. There's many different types of journalists, but today we're really going to be easing in on the most basic type of journalist, which is one that works for a newspaper. So these are just some famous journalists. As you can see, there's many famous journalists around the world. These are just some familiar faces like Anderson Cooper. You might see him a lot on the news. Ariana Huffington owns the Huffington Post, and there's Bob and Christiane. So there's many more journalists that you could easily find and that are well known around the world. These are some famous media outlets, so the New York Times, CNN, the Washington Post, USA Today. These are just some of the many famous media outlets. I'm sure you have heard of some of these. CNN you might have seen it on your own television. The New York Times. Yes, so let's move on. So every article needs a topic. In order for you to write about, you need a special event or a person that you're doing the editorial on or anything like that. So today's topic will be the civil rights movement, specifically Martin Luther King Jr. I chose this topic because I believe many of you guys have learned about this in school. It's an interesting topic, and it gives you a lot of free expression that you can write about. So this is a little summary. So in the 1960s in the United States, a man named Martin Luther King Jr. led the civil rights movement. He organized marches for jobs and freedom for African Americans, but most importantly, he led the March on Washington, where he delivered his famous I Have a Dream speech. And this is a picture of Martin Luther King Jr. I am sure you are all familiar with him. So Martin Luther King Jr. fought so that every person in America would be treated equally regardless of their race. When a person treats someone badly based on their race, ethnicity, or wealth, it is called prejudice. And prejudice is something bad. You should not be prejudicial towards anyone. You should always be respectful of other people, no matter their race, ethnicity, or wealth. So we're going to start off by getting a little bit of information on the topic. So as you're watching this, feel free to pause the video, and I want you to take some time to watch this intro video on the story of Martin Luther King, so you get a little bit of background on what you'll be writing about, and so you get a little summary, and you feel free to take notes on this video. I'm not going to play it because it takes time, but I very much urge you to watch it. It will help you in the long run for the rest of this lesson. So, after watching this video, we are going to start our first lesson of journalism, headlines. So every article has a headline. It's the first thing you see of an article. It's the big title. It should catch the reader's attention. So today you will be writing a headline, and during the 1960s, and still to this day, many people rely on newspapers to get their news. Your prompt is from watching the video and using your own knowledge of Martin Luther King Jr.'s civil rights movements. I want you to write a newspaper headline that could have appeared in the 1960s. Note, newspaper headlines should be short, clear, and attention-grabbing. So this is an example of a headline. It has nothing to do with the civil rights movement, but this is what a headline would look like. As you can see, it's short, clear, it's attention-grabbing. It's something that you see exactly when you open the newspaper of your article. So it's very important to do a good headline. So right now, I want you to take your time, pause this video, and in the space below, fill in your headline of, could basically just come up with any headline that you think would appear in the 1960s regarding the civil rights movement. So it could be Martin Luther King delivers amazing speech, Martin Luther King leads the civil rights movement, just anything that you can come up with. I want you to take a few minutes, pause this video, and come up with a headline that speaks to you, that is unique, attention-grabbing, short and clear, and that you like. Okay, so our second lesson in Intro to Journalism is article writing. So every journalist uses the 5 W's to formulate their article. It is who, what, where, when, and why. So it's pretty easy to remember. So when you're writing an article, you should always use the 5 W's. The first question is, who is the article about? The second is, what event is being covered? The third is, where did the event happen? The fourth is, when did it happen? And the fifth is, why did the event happen? So your prompt is that you are now a journalist for the Brooklyn Daily Eagle during the Civil Rights Movement. Your editor, Joseph Smith, gives you your next assignment. I want you to go down to Washington, D.C. to experience the upcoming March on Washington and listen to Martin Luther King Jr. speak. So I want you to take the time again and watch the following video. I urge you to watch this. If anything, I think it would make it so much easier to complete the lesson. Feel free to take notes while watching this video and use it as a resources for the upcoming activity. So this is actually Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech, and I really urge you to watch this video. Like, pause my video, take your time, watch his speech. Take notes because it will help you in the next part of the activity. Okay, so now that you watched the video, it is now your turn. You will use the 5 W's rule, the video, and your notes to perform the activity in the following slides in order to write your article. So, I want you to pause this video and take the time to fill out the who section of the 5 W's. So, example, the who is Martin Luther King, something about him delivering a speech. So I want you to take this time and put your answer in the box. And I want you to continue to do the same with the rest of the 5 W's. So what, where, when, and why. So pause this video, take as much time as you need to fill out these 5 W's, which will help you formulate your article. Remember you can always go back to the video, use your notes, or prior knowledge of the I Have a Dream speech. Because I want you to remember, you are writing your article based on what you have seen as a journalist during the March on Washington. That's why it's super important to watch the video, because you saw the speech, and using your knowledge of the speech of Martin Luther King, you can use it to fill out the boxes of the 5 W's. Okay, so now that you have the 5 W's done, you have to have a lead. So your editor wants you to write a lead to see if your article should get the front page. A lead is basically what you pitch to an editor before your article gets on the newspaper to see if they like your idea. So how do you write a lead? Well, your lead should be 1 paragraph, and it should answer the 5 W's question. So that part of the lead you already have done because you priorly answered the 5 W's question before. Your lead should always start with an attention-grabbing sentence, or you may know this as a hook, something that captures the readers and makes them want to read more of your lead. And your lead should express facts, not opinions. So in this type of journalism, we are not biased. We are writing based on facts. We're not writing based on our opinions. So I want you to pause this video and take the time to fill out your lead. Remember, you already have the 5 W's done, so you put it together, and you start your lead off with a hook, and you just make sure you express facts. So after pausing this video, write your lead, come back to this video, and we will move on. Congratulations, your editor loved your lead, and your article made it on the front page. So as you can tell, you did a lot from this lesson. So what exactly did you learn? Well, you learned what it means to be a journalist. You learned some famous journalists and famous media outlets. You learned how to write a headline. You learned the 5 W's to successful journalism, and you learned how to write a lead. Thank you so much for joining me in this lesson for Interns for Good. If you liked this topic, please let Interns for Good know, and I will make sure to make more virtual curriculum about intro to journalism. Here is the appendix if you want to learn more, so you can watch a What is Journalism video. You could practice facts versus opinion worksheet to make sure you are delivering facts to your writing. And you could do some fun Martin Luther King Jr. worksheets, so there's some cross puzzles and all of that. I'm so glad you could join me. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you next time.